Hello, and welcome to Solo Chat, the gathering for marketing experts and organizational leaders that want to get to sold out status. I'm Kay.
And I'm Ollie. We're the marketing associates here at Above Promotions. Each month, we will cover tools, innovations, policies, and strategies to help you sell out of products or reach capacity with your booked services.
This month's chat is about standing out in the marketplace. As a brand, we're always looking for ways to get ahead of the competition. While for business owners, engaging with customers and capturing their attention is essential to success. That's why we're all here to learn effective strategies from the experts we can apply today.
Also, be sure to listen all the way for upcoming opportunities that might be useful for your success. Let's get started. So, our today's chat, standing out in the marketplace, with Ebony Vaz and special guest, Dr. Jacqueline Darna. Ebony is the founder and CEO of Above Promotions and one of the few marketers in the world with an engineering degree and published research focused on human behaviors and statistical data.
She's joined by Dr. Jacqueline Darna, from a physician to now an inventor, CEO and founder of Intellidoc, and medical inventor of the NoMo Nausea, Migraine, and Sleepless Nights. Dr. Darna started the companies within a few years, and NoMo bands are now distributed in 12 countries worldwide for her four product lines, over 175 hospital systems across the US, and can be found in big box retail stores. She is now known as the outgoing winner of Shark Tank's Kevin Harrington's The Big Pitch, WBE CEO of the Year, and International Female Businesswoman to Watch.
Wow. So, all right, for today's chat,
Thank you
we
so much
brought,
for having me.
you're very welcome. And yeah, we brought in an expert like Dr. Darna to show our listeners how organizations can stand out in a crowded marketplace. So, thank you, Dr. Darna, for joining us today.
I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much for that kind introduction.
Yeah, we're so excited to have you. And when we were talking about this particular topic, I'm like, oh my God, I know the saleswoman who is the saleswoman of all saleswomen to come and have this conversation. So we're excited to have you today with us.
You are so kind. You give me way too many accolades. I really do appreciate it, guys.
All right, let's start with the first question. So, Dr. Darna, as an inventor and CEO of two companies over the last several years, you have seen more success than more consumer and healthcare companies. You have mastered standing out from your peers as startup founders. So, what has been the secret sauce for your success?
The secret sauce, I always joke that I wish I could bottle it, right? Like as a sauce, but truly understanding that business is a business of people. It's not about products, it's not about services. It's truly about other people. So, how can you basically leverage not just who they know, but who they know, right? So, it's like within your neighborhood, right? You're not going to just talk to your neighbors, you're going to ask your neighbors to talk to other neighbors about you. Same exact concept, because word of mouth, really word of mouth marketing period, is not dead, and it really is all about people. And so coming from a consumer product like NoMo Nausea, NoMo Migraine, and NoMo Sleepless Nights, you still get to learn the exact same people are making these decisions. So whether it was the executives of retailers, because we're in about 30,000 retailers like Walmart and Meijer and a bunch of other stores, but then they at the exact same time owning a health technology company called Intellidoc, I really just bridged the gap between health tech and retail tech. Meaning, I was able to take my friends who, as a physician, I used to sit on a lot of panels with those who were founders of telehealth companies, never thinking I would work with them, but I always recognize what is the most innovative part and position. And then once I had that innovation perspective, I can actually go back to them, 10 years later and say, hey, guess what, guys? Now we can work together. And that's how kind of my journey started when it came to Intellidoc, of forming a really solid foundation with NoMo bands.
You know, I love that you say that. I was just having breakfast with a couple of colleagues, And we were just talking about how so many entrepreneurs do not value relationships and that networking aspect. And they think if they're having a conversation and it's not immediately transactional, that that particular contact is not useful for them. But it sounds like for you, you recognize that anyone could be a lead or a person who can generate a lead or a contact for you, and that you take advantage of keeping that open and optimistic outlook.
Yeah, I always say pitch to them if they have a pulse. So again, I am one of those people. I pitch to absolutely everyone, or I tell people who I am, what I'm doing, and how I'm helping to change the world to have better health and wellness. And what you said was so interesting. I truly I think that people have the wrong misconception that they don't think that these in that the relationships are important, where in essence every single one of my big my big sales, they all had to do with relationships that started 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago. And again, it's not about it's not about selling anything. It's really about who they are as a person. And I'll give you an example. One of the companies you probably know named Disney, they actually had an incredible supplier diversity or individual who ended up passing. So I actually checked on the rest of the team to make sure that they were all okay, and just kind of said, I'm here to grieve with you and I'm sending prayers and condolences. That translated into an incredible working relationship thereafter. Same thing went with, again, I sold NoMo Nausea bands, right, in a bunch of retailers, but unfortunately during COVID, everything closed down. But I also sold them into hospital settings in order to help people with labor and delivery, with oncology and cancer, and with surgery. So during COVID, when none of my stores were open, I was actually able to sell other needed items like PPE items to these hospitals, and also to other people that were in the automotive industry, the lighting industry, things like energy companies. And I would have never been able to work with them, or UPS, for example, if I hadn't. And those were millions of dollar contracts. And I'm still really good friends with them. I still keep nudging them and saying, hey, don't you need to increase your diversity, Latina, woman owned status? So you need to buy some more bands. But again, all of those relationships came out of me meeting them at conferences and still maintaining a good working relationship.
I love what you said about. I mean, I definitely still condolences to the loss at Disney, but you reached out to them and you weren't trying to pitch them then, which I think leads us to the great question that Ali has for you next.
Right. And I love that you mentioned pitching earlier. And yeah, what are the clues you look for when pitching that let you know your audience understands and relates to your brand?
Well, the biggest one is that I want to have an intimate relationship with every single person. Now, the larger the crowd, I've spoke up to 10,000 people before on my keynote speaking, so I can't say that I can see the back of the room, but usually I'm able to, and I'm able to make eye contact, and that's something that's very important. Another thing is are they leaning in? Meaning, are they nodding their head? Are they physically leaning forward inside of their chairs? That's something else that I think has been kind of undervalued. And you need to know your room. I actually love to be there ahead of time while people are coming in. And I just say hi to everyone. They don't know that I'm speaking, they don't know that I'm the keynote. I just kind of get to know who they are or what type of business that they're in, because it really helps me to form in fashion. If I'm talking to a bunch of college kids, that's a very different conversation than if I'm having it with senior citizens, for example. So I really think you can leverage who your audience is, and as long as they're not on their cell phones. Again, I know some people take notes on their phones, but when they're really actively engaged, they are just leaning in, leaning forward to every, and kind of holding on to every single one of my words. So that's kind of how I can judge the audience and see if they're with me or not.
When you're talking about, the audience, I was actually, I'm in the middle of reading this book called Cues, and it's with Vanessa Van Edwards, and she's talking about those verbal cues, those audio cues, those body language cues. And and how those things are really triggering to let you know when to move forward and when not to. And so I love how you're instinctively doing that when you're doing your pitching.
Yeah, and I think that that also has to do with it's like something innate and natural. I always say that I want to put them into like a little magic spell, right? The Jackie show, and I mean that in a very funny a funny manner, but it is really true. You can tell the most by people, and as soon as I'm able to read that someone's just not getting it, they make a facial feature that I'm like, oh, that was, so I re-change it and rephrase it. And sometimes I actually will ask them a question or have them raise their hands because, again, my products stop nausea, vomiting, headaches, migraines, and sleep problems in 30 seconds or less. So from NoMo bands, right? Everyone in the room has dealt with one of those problems. And so that is something else too, that you can come together as a community and really understand people, because when people are like, I've got terrible migraines, I cannot believe I didn't know NoMo migraine existed. Then you literally have almost like you're talking to this single isolated group, and they tend to talk with each other because they're reading each other's cues also, saying, I suffer with that, or I know somebody who suffer with that. So I think it's like a common problem. I just happen to have a solution.
That's really great. Whether you are pitching or traveling to meet with corporate reps or advertising to keep shop space in the retailers, how have you decided what you will budget for marketing your business?
I'm sure my CFO would negate what I'm about to say. But because of the fact that, that is one of my downfalls as a wonderful Latina owned business. But I will say that it is an ebb and flow. There is no specific, one bucket, one box. It really has to do with a time factor. And I always make sure that anything that I do from a marketing perspective or, conferences or whatever it is, that I look at it, what am I able to utilize as a measurable ROI or a rate of return, something that I know. So for example, Ebony and I were at WeBank, which is a conference for women-owned business owners. If you've ever seen that little logo that says women owned, that's what it is. And so from there alone, I was telling her that I was following up with about 67 different entities. And just one of those big retailers, for example, got me into my first 6,000 stores. And then another one got me into almost 9,000 stores. So again, there's I paid like a couple $1,000s, and then I ended up making $1 million from them, for example. So you really have to take a look to see strike where the iron is hot. And that's where you need to put your marketing money. And sometimes, I'll be honest with you, sometimes I just jump. uh, that's the nicest way to say it. I just go for it, and then try to make the most of it thereafter. But again, there's no crystal ball. I know that I have different buckets, and I do like going to conferences because I'm there in person. And whenever I'm at conferences, I love to speak at them because I have then people coming to me and not me going to others. So it ends up working out because I am an authority in my space. I am a physician. I am an inventor. I am a successful entrepreneur. And so I'm able to check all those boxes, but at the same time, just feel the notoriety and the status that's needed. And people will want to talk to you because you just commanded that stage.
And I think that's a part of standing out, right? It's much easier for you to stand out from on top of the stage than from like the 10th row in the middle of the section, and you have to fight to try to ask a question of someone who is on stage to try to get their attention. So I love that you point out the fact that going to a conference can allow you the opportunity to engage, to bring your personality. And we were joking before we started, you're the type of person who will make the most of any situation no matter where you're at. So I think that also falls into like why you've been so good with standing out in the marketplace.
Thank you so much, Ebony. Yeah, I'll sell a NoMo Nausea band in the bathroom, right? But no, I think it is important though that you are noticed. So you don't want to just be in a sea, right? You want to be a big fish in a small pond. So I always, if there's a mic, I always ask a question. And when you ask a question, state your name your company and what you do, because other people will come up to you after and say, either I love what you had to say, or I think that we need to talk further. So again, you don't just want to be in the crowd. That does nothing for you. And then another aspect or another item that I do is I summarize really good panels, and I actually put them on LinkedIn so that I tag those people and I say, hey, this was great. And then I always obviously ask for a friend request from them, because they are masters in their own realm. And so you definitely have to make the most of conferences, and you need to kind of come at it at a 360 viewpoint. You need to look at what's for now, what's for later, and then categorize that from a time perspective. I use Asana, which is like basically just kind of helps to keep me organized, but I always do it based around my different days. And then I schedule out my follow-up days. I actually have what I call a 24/7. If anyone has ever seen my Calendly, you will notice it is very full. I had 14 meetings yesterday, for example, but I take one day a week, which is considered my 24/7 day. And that's where I get everything that I need to get done. So what that really means is I'm able to do all of my follow-ups, and I always coordinate them based on date on those 24/7 days, where I literally work only on what I need to do in the business and not on the business.
Yeah, that's so key. I have 2 afternoons a week where I call deep work. And that's like blocked in 4 hours straight. Like, don't nobody send me a meeting request. If the phone
Oh, I
rings, I'm
silence
not
my phone.
answering. Yeah,
I
yeah.
silence my phone.
But you know what? You mentioned, and I'm gonna take this one from UK. Don't shoot me later. But you mentioned Asana as a tool. So what are some of the other tools that you're using to stay ahead? And I will definitely say I think I always thought like, oh, I'm really good with LinkedIn. But like again, here's another compliment. You work the hell out of LinkedIn.
You're so
So
funny.
what other tools are you
I do work
using
it.
besides?
I love
Yeah, you
LinkedIn.
do.
I'm actually more on LinkedIn than I am on my text messages. Even though a lot of my friends that are on LinkedIn, it's kind of like you play in the same playground. I was talking with one of the chief nursing officers of a very large hospital earlier, and I said, I just really wanted to meet you. I know we're friends, we've been friends on LinkedIn, but I wanted to like get that chance to be a virtual meeting, only because we play in the same sandbox. We're all friends with the same people. And so sometimes, really having or being able to leverage that you're friends with other executives within the same realm. But I absolutely love LinkedIn. Calendly is another one that I kind of mentioned that just keeps so you can schedule meetings. I should learn to schedule them for 25 minutes so I have a 5-minute break to go pee, because sometimes, like yesterday, I didn't finish until 9 p.m. at night. And it was literally a 12-hour saga of just meetings, so I do need to be a little bit better about stopping my meetings a little shorter, but I go right up to the time of 30-minute meetings. And that's really helped me, so that it takes the guesswork out of when are you available? No, when are you available? And then my favorite tool, period, of all times is my notes. There's like a notes app on every single person's phone, and I have so many notes in there. That's what I use primarily, not just for my ideas. I'm a woman of faith, so not just for Bible verses that really resonate with me, but also anytime I have conversations with people, I talk to people. And then my follow-up method is I highlight their name once I've linked in with them and sent them an email. So that's kind of my way of getting it all together as like a little secret entity, but it's a pretty well-oiled machine. And all my employees know that whenever I'm at a conference, I send a picture of the cards of one person's job and then send pictures for another person, and they kind of know what to do. So it looks like it's all me, but it's really not. It's really my team. And then I do follow up with obviously the emails that come back.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can say that, I mean, I agree with all the tools that you use. We use Todoist. I like it because we can, if you're on the internet and you're searching something, you kind of just highlight a word or two, or just from your phone, make those quick little notes and put it on your to-do list. But one thing I will say is something that I don't think we highlight enough, but you just mentioned, was notes. Like, I can admit I am doing a million things. I want to say it's also age. Also want to say like there's times where I feel like I have brain fog, but I don't remember everything. And I think that um, I think we have to take advantage of using our phone for besides just social media or whatever to actually help us to record the things that we need to get done. And sometimes I talk to entrepreneurs and I tell them one of the biggest hurdles is yourself because you forget to do stuff and you forget to follow up with customers or you forget to follow up with a vendor. You're not going to remember everything. So I love that you did point out just taking notes.
Yeah, and that's my big thing. You will notice that if I say, for example, like Ebony, I got something that I have to send you right after, you will notice that you'll get an email directly after. Now, it may be short, right? There's no like long paragraph, but it will literally be like to the point because I always say, do, then say. You have to make an action first and then talk about it later because if it didn't happen on social media, it didn't happen, right? So that's
Mm,
very important, but you need to do something now because unfortunately, so many entrepreneurs, they get sidetracked because there's so many different ways and directions that they can get into, and unfortunately, if they don't do it now, it'll never get done. And that's the premise behind my company, Intellidoc. So Intellidoc is the first AI voice activated telehealth shopping cart that listens to the doctor. And every time he says or he or she says anything that's over the counter, bloop, it populates on the screen. You click buy now and you're able to pick it up at your local pharmacy and or delivered it right to your door. And that's the power of speech, number one, a speech to text, I guess you could say. And then number two is you're doing it now because how many times has your doctor said you need to try to take, right? This will help you to get
yeah.
better. And how many of us don't even go? 25% of people don't even pick up their prescriptions. So again, it's kind of on the lower hanging totem pole. So it's always really important. Do something now. It's the convenience factor is why Intellidoc has been so revolutionary in healthcare currently in telehealth.
Hmm. So, I mean, the product itself is, I mean, like you said, it's one of those things where, I mean, I'm one of those 25%. I have a couple of prescriptions because they're not crucial to me that I have not picked up.
I get it. I
And
get it. But
so,
IntelliDoc orders that you pay for, right? When you
mhm,
buy all those OTCs, it's stapled directly to your prescription. So when you go into your, CVS or Walmart or whatever it is, you go out to the physical pharmacy to pick up your already paid for IntelliDoc orders. And I tell people, it's kind of like when you forget a bag of groceries. Since you've already paid for it, you're going to go back in for it. But if you didn't pay for it, you're like, I can let those prescriptions hang out there since I didn't already buy them. So you're
yeah,
just like everyone else, and this is why everybody needs IntelliDoc on their.
exactly. This is facts. But there's one thing, and I'm gonna let Ali go to his next question. But there's one thing I have to highlight because you said do then say. And oh my gosh, so many startup founders say a lot. They say what they're going to deliver. They say what they think that customers or whoever is standing in front of them, but they never actually do. So I love that you're highlighting do then say. Like literally the next time, like I have to speak next week for a cohort that I'm mentoring in South Florida, I'm going to say, Dr. Jacqueline Darna said, do then say, because
Oh
it
yeah,
is
they need
so
to do it now
important
and then
to
talk
do
about it
it.
later. Because so many people, like you
Exactly.
said, are all talk, and talk is cheap. I mean, really,
Yeah.
it's your actions, and it's again, it might not be the most eloquent email that I'm going to send you, right? It's literally going to be like, "This is what I promised you," bloop, and it's sent. So then there's no questions as to whether or not I did it. So yeah, I agree with that. Please tell people to
Yeah.
do it now and then talk about it later.
Yeah. So, Oliver, next question.
Yes, thank you, Ebony. So, yeah, Dr. Darno, we know you meet a lot of people every day, and we wanted to know, like, how do you leverage customer happiness, testimonials, and positive or negative feedback?
Oh, I'm all in this for people. So my mission has been very clear since I took my Hippocratic oath as a physician, but I have a true mission to have all people have better health and wellness. And my patients, my customers, they literally are the lifeline and the blood force of NoMo Nausea and Intellidoc. So both being very patient centric. I know this sounds crazy, but I still will call people that have ordered from my website randomly out of the blue and just be like, hey, I just wanted to tell you, thank you so much for ordering my product. I want to find out, is there anything else I can invent that helps you with your everyday life? And this is why actually I've been able, we currently have NoMo Nausea, NoMo Migraine, and NoMo Sleepless Nights, and NoMo Nausea Dog, our pet line. But we actually have in the pipelines NoMo Stress, NoMo Itch, NoMo Hot Flashes, and NoMo Cough and Cold, all because people that have bought my products, I called them and they were like, it would be awesome if I had this. And so again, it's so important. And I also, I try to do, and my team does an amazing job from getting not just influencers, but real customers. I want to see where NoMo goes, right? I want to see where they travel. I want to see them as their baby progresses inside of their belly, because they're a part of my family. Every single one of my employees, the very first email that they'll get is welcome to the NoMo family. And that's been very important. And I've actually changed a little bit of the mindset that for Intellidoc, because I'm trying to be the next billion health technology company, or $1 billion health technology company. I've actually changed that family aspect from it to actually one of a good team. And the reason why I say that is because families watch football games, but teams win football games. So it's two different perspectives. I'm still keeping myself very patient centric and or customer focused, but two different, right? When I am talking as as a mom, and we kind of combine on that aspect, that's one entity. That's more of a family environment. But if we're talking about, hey, I'm hanging with the big guns. I mean, it's a $460 billion industry right now that I'm laying in for my telehealth company. And that alone is a perfect example as to why I need a team and not just a family on my side.
I agree, and I really like the way you call them. That's really wow. I mean, as like you are an inventor of these products and customers get a call from you, are they like fan fanboying, fangirling about when they know that it
Oh
was
no,
you?
are you kidding me? I'm not that cool and or that popular. They were like, "Wait, what?" And they're like, "You mean the wristband that I smell and it stops me from vomiting or whatever?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that one. No more nausea band." And they're like, wow, that's really crazy. They're like, are you really a doctor? Like they actually asked me like a bunch of like much, much more personal questions, but I'm happy to answer them because again, it means the world to me. But I wish I could say I was that cool and popular. I'm definitely not. Although I did win Shark Tank spinoff show. That's the only time that I've ever had people say, I recognize you. I saw that episode or whatever it is.
Yes, speaking of Shark Tank, we wanted to know as well, what is your advice to founders who want success but operate from a place of fear?
Fear is actually good. I always tell people if you're not fearful, you're not dreaming and thinking big enough. I think that's like a good litmus test. And that's something that I've kind of, if it makes me nervous, I'm like, whoo, I'm a little fearful. But again, I am a woman of faith and literally fear not and know that I am God. Like, so for me, even though I might get that like gut
Amen.
wrenching fear of like, a fear of heights, for example, I know that I'm protected. I know that I'm guided. And for me, it's really one to say, don't let fear stand in your way of achieving your greatness, because your innovation and your awesome like imagination is actually kind of like a peephole or a view of what's in it for the future. Because if I would have listened to so many people, they used to tell me I'm crazy, right? Or that, oh, your products will never be able to do that. Or there's no way that you're going to be able to invent anything. So again, a lot of times when you tell the wrong person, it can actually really hinder where you could go in life. And it wasn't until my pastor said, Jackie, the Lord gave you an imagination, and he gave you this incredible imagination and innovation in order to change the world. And they will then understand once you become standard practice. I mean, look at ChatGPT, right? How many of us use this on an everyday basis? And now this was something that wasn't even talked about a few years ago. So that's what I want to do. I want to make my mark on the world. And again, it is okay to be a little fearful. I was fearful. I'm attacking $1 billion industry. And again, I was a little nervous. I was like, do I got the chops? And I'm like, you know what? I do. So sometimes you just have to be still, wait forward, and really recognize that fear is actually a good. It helps you. It helps you and really builds you up. And then once you've knocked down fear, then the sky's the limit.
Amen. My uncle, before he passed away, he was a pastor, and he used to say that if you went into something and you didn't have just a little bit concern, just a little bit of fear, even if it's like just a temporary thing, he's like, you're going into it too cocky and you're probably wrong.
Sounds like a very wise man.
So I would always keep that in mind whenever I would speak somewhere. I'm like, okay, hold on, like, let's not go into this too cocky now. Let's keep ourselves humble in this situation.
No, but I will tell you, I mean, I hate to say this, but there is a massive part of fake it till you make it. And Oliver, I'm not trying to boy bash you at all, but men have a really great way of selling their dream, selling their vision before they have any groundwork done, versus women. We tend to want to have everything perfect. Well, by the way, nothing is ever going to be perfect. The post is not going to be perfect. The product is not going to be perfect. The packaging is not going to be perfect. So what? Do it. Kind of rip that page out of their book and just go for it. So sometimes the fake it till you make it does actually work and pan out in your favor. So again, I think that it's a balance. Life is nothing but a balance between both, and just kind of weigh it out as you go and read the room, like the book you were reading.
Thank you so much, Dr. Darna. Yeah, I feel renewed actually. Thank you for all the advices. And thank you, Ebony, as well. That was our last question. And we're glad you said yes to this chat, Dr. Darna.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you guys had me. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. And for all the people who are literally commenting and asking, hey, where do we pick it up from? You can grab all my products from NoMoNausea.com, or you can get us at Walmart, Meijer, Amazon.com, and it is NoMo and then whatever problem you have. So NoMo Nausea, NoMo Migraine, NoMo Sleepless Nights, and NoMo Nausea Dog. Thank you guys so much. And again, if you do ever use a telehealth and you see a shopping cart on there, that's Intellidoc. That's me. Even though I'm not very well known for it, because that's not a company that I can, shout out all the time, because I am inside of other telehealth entities. So thank you guys so much for having me. I really appreciate it. These were really great, thought-provoking questions.
Perfect. Thank you so much. All of us are now like equipped to take the first step anytime soon. Everything was clear, and we got a lot of insights from your experience and expertise. So just to summarize everything to our listeners, we have talked about the secret of your success, letting everyone know if the audience understands and relate to your brand, the right budget for marketing your business, leveraging customers' happiness, top tools we can use to stay ahead of the competition, and advice to founders who want success but operate from a place of fear. So thank you, everyone. All right, Kay?
All right, thank you. So, everyone, if you're not subscribed to our newsletter, you missed a couple of these upcoming opportunities and events.
Yes, so join the upcoming workshops with Ebony Vaz. We have different workshops that will suit your marketing needs. So upcoming, creating a marketing budget, that will be on April 25. Gain sales by finding your target market. For B2B, that will be on May 16th. And for B2C, that will be on May 17th. So you may check abovepromotions.com/training for more information about these workshops.
Be sure to subscribe to our newsletter on our website today and never miss out on another opportunity. Thank you.